All right, everybody. On today's show, we have a sickle cell warrior representing. Listen, Dr. Hebert, our guest today not only talks about not just surviving, but thriving with sickle cell. And he's from my hometown, man, of Houston,
I'm sorry to
Texas.
hear that. I'm sorry to hear that.
I said Houston, Texas.
I see that star.
Yes,
Whatever.
sir. That star is back
Whatever.
there for a reason, man. Now, let me tell you
Don't miss
something.
Texas.
Yeah, Texas. You know, Dorian's mindset is truly that of a warrior, man. He would talk to us about living a life amidst excruciating pain, limited educational programs, and insufficient access to standardized care, man. He is a really true sickle cell warrior. And he's at the forefront of advocacy and policy and changes that need to improve the quality of life for all sickle cell patients. But you know what, Dr. Hebert? I got to talk to you about this, man. It is great, man. This show we've been doing. Listen, dude, do you know, man, we are just out here just really changing the whole landscape for sickle cell. Because, I just did a story, man. They just featured Living Your Life in Ebony magazine, man, on ebony.com. Isn't that not
Uh,
great?
Let me tell you something, bro. When people have come up to me on the street and said, I'm checking my own self for sickle cell trait now. I'm giving information to my cousins who have sickle cell disease and didn't even know about all the stuff y'all talking about, bro. And this is sickle cell. We're gonna take this even bigger because there's nobody like me and you doing this.
Yeah.
Nobody. And I'm telling you,
There's
this is
not a
what we
lane.
need.
There's no lane for this. There's not a
This is
lane
what
that
we need.
exists.
What we need.
Yeah,
What
this is
we
what
need.
it is, man. So I am really proud of this show. I'm proud of all the guests we've had that come on this show. I want to thank
Sure.
everybody for tuning in and subscribing to the podcast. We can't do
Mhm.
this without y'all, man. That means we have something. That means there's somebody
That's
out
right.
there that needs to help, that need to change, and we doing it right here on Living Your Life, man. So I'm excited. I don't know about you, Dr. A, but I'm really excited, man.
Look, when I heard we were gonna do this show, I got excited.
Yeah, man.
The fact, so you know how I am now.
Yeah. Oh no, you
Yeah,
stick with me the whole way, man. So we got a great
that's right.
show for y'all today, man. We want to make sure that y'all stay tuned. And we're gonna tell you when I come back, I got another friend of mine that I want you to meet, who is somebody, like I said, from my hometown, man. Y'all stay right with us. We'll be right back. This is Living Your Life. On today's show, we have a sickle cell warrior representing Dr. Hebert. Our guest today talks about not just surviving, but thriving with sickle cell. And he's from my native hometown of Houston, Texas. I don't know what you care about that, Dr. Hebert. I know
Whatever.
shake your head all you
Houston,
want. He's a
I
Texan.
see the star. Don't mess with Texas. I get it. I get it.
Okay, man. Just don't mess with us, man, because Dorian's mindset is truly that of a warrior, man. He will talk to us about living a life amidst excruciating pain, limited educational programs, and insufficient access to standardized care. He is at the forefront of advocacy and policy changes needed to improve the quality of life for sickle cell patients. Please help me welcome an HBCU graduate, actor, musician, motivational speaker,
Kappa
a sickle
Alpha
cell
Psi, Kappa
warrior.
Alpha Psi, Howard,
Oh, here
all
we
these
go.
things.
Here we Yes. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Stop right there. I didn't bring up Kappa Alpha Psi. You have a problem with the
And
man
then
being
look,
from Kappa Alpha Psi or something?
everybody has to make their own decisions in life.
Everybody. Okay, well, you just brought it up
And
like
I made
Kappa
the
Alpha
decision
Psi,
to go with the
Kappa in
frat
the.
so nice they named it twice.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at it.
see?
Look at it. Yeah,
See,
that's how
man?
you step in this game. I appreciate that. Game recognized, game came twirler. Make it happen, Dorian. How you doing, brother?
I'm good,
All
sir.
right, man. Well, man. Hey, do y'all both know we here
Oh
for
yeah.
sickle cell?
Oh
That's what
yeah.
unites
Hey,
us.
hey, and I know
We this
that
the
these
this
beautiful
the
black
fraternity. This the fraternity we in. SCD. That's what we in. Hey, man, let me tell you something right now. Please welcome to Living Your Life, all the way from Hollywood, California, Mr. Dorian Archie, man. Dorian, what's going on, brother?
Absolutely,
Thank you for
kid. Thank you so
coming.
much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here, and get to highlight and talk about sickle cell in this forum. Thank you for the work that you're doing and bringing a voice to this illness, because not enough of us are doing that out here. And to see a group of black men, stepping into this forum to
Yeah.
really bring uh, an aid to this fight, I think is a beautiful thing. So thank you guys for the work that you're doing, truly.
Absolutely, man. Let me just ask you this, man. When were you diagnosed with sickle cell? What age were you?
I was diagnosed shortly after birth. I think my parents got, the word that I may have had sickle cell shortly after I was born, still in the hospital. And then they got the official notice, I think maybe 6 months after I was born, that I did have sickle cell disease.
Mm-hmm.
And SS, was the phenotype and everything.
Let me ask a quick question. What
Yeah.
did your mother and father know that they both had trait, or was this something that they weren't really ready for?
So my mother was very aware. Her family was very knowledgeable of sickle cell, and that it ran in the family. But she's also from a family of teachers and doctors. My father, on the other end, he remembered possibly getting tested in middle school, but at the time they may have really only been testing for one type of the trait, and he honestly could have just slipped through the cracks. But as far as he told my mother when she raised the question to him, was no. And I guess, instead of doing the due diligence and finding out like a lot of Black parents, even to this day, are doing,
Yeah.
they I guess rolled the dice, so to speak, with the understanding that my dad did not have the trait when he in fact did have the trait.
Oh man. Dorian, you speak a lot about sickle cell from the male perspective. Tell me what you mean by that.
So I mean, sickle cell is it's a disease that affects the blood. But it can affect men and women in very drastically different ways, in terms of reproductive health, in terms of expectations, in terms of the society and how Black men are viewed, both in the hospital system and the way we can be treated. And I guess that's what the male perspective in terms of sickle cell, and trying to highlight what
I got you.
Black men are experiencing in their everyday challenges and issues. I actually just started a support group for just men, so that we have a place to discuss the issues that are plaguing us as men living with this disease. Oftentimes, our
Yeah.
voices, I feel, are kind of pushed to the wayside, and that can also be because we're, as Black men, we're kind of viewed as, we're strong and virile and all of these other things, these stereotypes that we often
Masculinity.
exactly, that we then sometimes try to live up to. So oftentimes Black men may not even feel like they have a place to raise their voice, or that they should speak up to the things that they're experiencing and feeling, and the mental health components that also, as men, that we have to deal with in terms of dealing with this illness, especially in terms when it comes to
Yeah.
having children, and like I said, reproductive health and those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, Kier,
Yeah, Dr. Hebert,
it's one thing to walk up to an ER as a woman. As a Black woman, that's already a problem. But walking up to an ER as a Black man asking for morphine, that's a different beast.
Absolutely.
That's a different beast, bro. So I'm glad what you're doing, Dorian. I mean, that this is to bring these brothers together in a support group that way, because we as Black men, we don't like to show weakness. We have to lean on each other now with this disease, and with any other thing, with prostate cancer, with anything,
Absolutely.
because we're hurting out there, and we
Yeah.
don't want to get counseling, we don't want to
Yeah.
get therapy, we don't want to get anything, and that's just not what we do. And that's why I'm glad you're here today to really help us, get this word
Yeah.
out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, who doesn't really care about if you Black? Sickle cell. I'm telling you, I've seen the strongest Black men break down in a crisis. That's how excruciating this pain is, man. When you having this crisis, man, what is your crisis like when you have it?
Uh, they are completely debilitating, as I'm sure and have experienced. It can almost literally feel like being suffocated from the inside out. These are your red blood cells. This is the life force of your body. They carry your oxygen, your nutrients, all throughout your body.
Right.
And these are the literal things that are keeping you alive, but at the same time are beating you to death. And that's honestly, for
Mm-hmm.
me, what it feels like. It feels like I'm being physically attacked from the inside out, and being beaten to a pulp.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what it feels like, Dr. Hebert. Like you really are debilitated. Like for me, Dorian, it's
Hmm.
in my hips, my shoulders. Like it seems like that it takes the legs out first. And then man, it'll work its way up to my joints and my back and
Hmm.
my chest. And man, the longer we delay it, the more
Absolutely.
crazy it gets. Man, like I pride myself on not bending to sickle cell crisis all the time. But man, literally, at a grown man sitting there with tears in his eyes, and that's how
Yeah.
much the pain is.
And
We
Yeah, I've been there, man.
Well, the scary part about this, guys, is that you are both in treatment. Take care of yourselves. Eat well, exercise, all these things that this is about lifestyle, like this show is about. But 70% of all the people that are adults that have sickle cell right now are lost to treatment. We don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing. And that's why when we talk about this show, we got to get this out because these pain crises that you're talking about, somebody's having that in silence.
hmm
And they are not even getting the treatment, the care that they need because they're embarrassed, they're scared, they don't want to lose their job because of all the stigma attached
Yeah,
to this. What y'all are doing is
yes.
really important to get this word out to say, come out. We can help, but we gotta know.
Yeah, we have to know, man. You have to know, man. So I just want to ask you, man, what type of medications are you currently taking, man? What are you using to help you with your sickle cell crisis?
So in terms of what I'm doing in my everyday life, because I feel like a lot of sickle cell
Yes.
patients, the first thing that they may reach for is the opioids. You know, let me get something to deal with this pain right now. But aren't necessarily doing the everyday things that they can do to impact their health and reduce their crises. Indari is one supplement. It's relatively new on the market, but it's an all natural supplement called L-glutamine. I've been taking this. I was honestly involved in a very early trial that was done at Howard University with John H. Johnson. Uh, so I had
Yeah.
the knowledge and experience of L-glutamine very early on, and even after that trial was over, I started actively just taking L-glutamine. It wasn't prescription grade, but I started just taking it on my own and saw a drastic change in my you know
Right.
oxygen levels and how much I could run or jog or just move throughout my day without getting fatigued and tired.
That is so big, man. Because I'll tell you right now, Dorian, I'm on
Oh,
Indari
awesome.
as well. And I do the same thing, man. It's amazing how much I can move without getting chronic fatigue, how much clearer my thoughts are, how
Yes,
much
sir.
longer my days are, how much energy I'm willing to have, man. So I understand how important that is to make sure that I work out. I make sure I get my workout in. I make sure I keep my diet right. I take my Indari and then I keep moving on, man. And over a period of time, man, your body adjusts and you
Yes,
start
sir.
feeling better. Like this is really about the closest to normal I've
Yeah,
ever
and,
felt.
and, and I'm gonna tell you the thing about this is when you start talking about an essential amino acid, it really changes the metabolism of your red blood cells being built,
Yes, sir.
and so that's why something like this, Indari will make it so that you are able to actually get to the point where you can exercise a lot of times. Nothing is going to be perfect for everybody. Nothing works for everybody. But the
No,
reality
no.
is, we got new medicines out there, and there are a lot of them out there that we need to really, give a try. But people need to understand you got to get them.
Yeah,
You got to be out there. And something like Indari, is one of the new ones that's really, really helping a lot of people.
absolutely.
Yeah, man. It really is. And that's important for, like saying, like that's part of what I like to call, like I say, like your lifestyle. This is
Hmm.
what you have to do daily
Consistently.
to live consistently. It has to be a lifestyle. There are
Yes, sir.
no exceptions.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So that's really important, man, because you do so much work, man. Like, what organizations are you currently working with to affect the change for SCD?
Well, of course, I'm working with my own fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. But I'm also working with two large sickle cell organizations, or moderate-sized sickle cell organizations here in Southern California. Cayenne Wellness being one of them, as well as Access Advocacy. Um, Cayenne Wellness is really at the forefront of like doing really grassroots kind of organizing work and really being you know right at the front door and challenging hospitals and doctors and the medical community to really advance their practices and care and how they treat sickle cell disease and how they view sickle cell disease as well, because there is this stigma associated with this illness of being drug seekers or being difficult patients and all of these other things that have been associated
Man,
to us, that we have to then kind of attack the culture within these hospitals in order to try and really get the ball rolling and moving in terms of how sickle cell patients are going into these hospitals and being treated. Because even myself, who, I've been being seen at the same hospital for 10 years now here in Los Angeles, going to the same doctor. But it only took one instance where my doctor was out of the country and I needed care, and me to receive, a different care team, a different doctor who viewed sickle cell very differently, to completely change the experience that I've had in a hospital that I've always viewed as one of the best places to go for sickle cell, swore by it. But it just took one instance with a doctor not familiar with it, or with bias, or with associating me with a stigma, or just looking at me as some young Black dude coming in here asking for morphine. Because I am knowledgeable and I do ask for the things and I know exactly what works for me, it just completely shifted my experience in that hospital. And that consistency of care that we don't always receive in the hospital system, in the ERs, is, I think, what leads sickle cell patients to not seeking care when they should. And oftentimes just relegating themselves to being sick at home, or relegating themselves to just using their home pain meds, as opposed to actively seeking care, in the hospital system.
Well, how about this? There are over 1 million, almost 1.1 million doctors in the United States, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's 100,000 active sickle cell patients, right? And 70% of them are not actually, being seen. So that means that for 1 million doctors, there are 30,000 people. There are going to be so many doctors that have never seen a sickle cell patient before. There's so many doctors out there that don't even really know that sickle cell trait can cause you to die. They don't even know that, because when you go through medical school, when I went through medical school in I can tell you how old I am, but we weren't even taught that. So that's why we have to do, and you have organizations like yours, Dorian, and Cayenne. I love Cayenne. It's one of my favorite groups out there, that are pushing this at the federal level, at the local level, but at politics.
Yes, sir.
We got to change the politics, because we have to make the policy changes, because these doctors don't even know.
Yes, sir.
And that's the scary part. And they're not compelled to learn, because why? You got 30,000 people all over the United States. Why I got to learn that? You know why they need to learn it? Because one person makes a difference. If somebody, you can have one person, and doctors just don't think like that much anymore. So that's the problem.
Well, that's the crazy part about it, Dr. Brett. Just play devil's advocate. If you get a young person that comes into an emergency room, they don't care if the doctor ain't never heard of sickle cell, because we know y'all have ways to research or go find out or call another doctor. It's literally
outright.
Blatant disrespect.
They're not compelled.
Outright.
That's right. They don't think it's important.
No.
But they could Google anything and see and get a protocol.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that doctor knows that the whole clinic, the triage center, they all know we're having a sickle cell crisis. It ain't like sickle cell just showed up when I came in here. Sickle cell, they know when they hear sickle cell, they know exactly what that means. They know exactly. It ain't like they said, ain't no doctors in there. I ain't never seen a doctor in the emergency room talking about, hold on, who out there? Sickle cell, Nah, he never heard of it. Yes, you have.
Yes, you have.
Now you may not. You may have had no
You
experience.
gotta
You got
care
to.
enough.
That's exactly.
You gotta
Got there,
care
Bear.
enough.
Yep.
You got to care enough. That's all I'm saying. You got to care enough. And, and see, Dorian, I like the fact that you do care enough because I know that you recently worked on a bill in California to increase funding for sickle cell organizations in California. Now, what is this bill about? And what is your goal here? What are you trying to get
The
to
name
with
of the
this?
bill, it was Assembly Bill 1105. It was spearheaded by Assembly Member Mike Gibson. It actually became somewhat of the framework for the federal legislation that Senators Cory Booker uh, and Scott, and Senator Scott used to bring the sickle cell bill that was brought at a federal level that was recently I think it was passed. But this bill increased funding across Southern California for grants to be used over the next 3 years that organizations here in Southern California could apply for to create sickle cell centers. So if the organization wanted to apply for this money, they would just essentially need to be saying that we're creating some type of sickle cell center where sickle cell patients can access care in an environment that is safe and knowledgeable, and receive, whether it's IV infusions, pain medication, not, from knowledgeable doctors who aren't going to come in and ask you, how long have you had sickle cell? It
Mm-hmm.
also increased program and operational funding for organizations as well if they wanted to apply for that money. But I think even more importantly, it challenged doctors already in hospitals, as well as through testing, and ensuring that testing was going to be done across the board, regardless of race. Which is, I think, huge because it's labeled as a Black disease, but there are countless Latinos and people of Mediterranean descent, and I've even worked with several white children who have had sickle cell. I'm talking blonde hair, blue-eyed white kids with sickle cell.
Right.
I have too, man.
Mother Nature is a mad scientist, and the United States has a interesting culture. I've had several white patients with sickle cell, lots with sickle cell trait,
Mm-hmm.
but some with sickle cell disease. I mean, that's real. So and I applaud you because when you are talking about making change at the state level, we're talking about legislation, laws.
Yeah.
This is how we get things done. We can't get things done by just yelling. We can't get things done by, you got to have laws and money.
Absolutely.
And you bring in the laws, and when the laws come, the money comes. So congratulations on that, bro. Whatever we can do, we
Man,
gonna help.
congratulations.
I've been
That
a
is
firm
big.
believer if you can
That is
organize
big,
people
Dorian.
and money, then you can get any job you want to get done. You just got to be able to organize the people
man.
and the money to get it done. And once you have that, the momentum kind of just carries itself from there. And the money keeps coming in itself as well. It's just kind of like a snowball heading downhill. But you got to get that ball rolling first. And it's with programs like this and people on the grassroots level working, in the field to do that, that's going to get that ball rolling.
And when you still have people that are at the very highest levels of academia and highest levels of celebrity and highest levels of everything, who think that sickle cell disease is cured already because the only thing they see on the news is, there's been a patient cured of sickle cell.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize that costs $17 million and they got 3 people in the world. You know what I'm saying? So off the radar. It is off the radar. They used to, people don't even remember, there used to be a sickle cell telethon. Why is there no sickle cell telethon now nationally?
Mm-hmm.
Every year, they still got the muscular dystrophy telethon. They still got the cystic fibrosis telethon. Why don't they have this sickle cell?
And a lot of folks don't know. The first time Michael Jackson moonwalked was for a sickle cell foundation event. Essentially, it was a sickle cell fundraiser. The first time that Michael Jackson did the moonwalk, but he did that moonwalk, and everybody forgot that event, with Diana Ross and Smokey Robinson and every other premier Black, star at the time, was fighting for sickle cell. People just forgot sickle cell was there and was like, oh, well, Michael Jackson moonwalked.
Imagine that. That's how they do it.
I tell you,
that's how they do it.
We don't even have a sickle cell PSA. We ain't got it.
Man,
Everybody got one but us.
I've been saying that since
Everybody.
I was a kid.
I'm talking about St. Jude got one. The Shriners got one. 1-800-1877 calls for kids
Every
got one.
animal and dog in the world got one.
Every dog, the walruses
The
got
penguins.
one. The elephants say I just saw the news. They took Yaya, the panda, back to China. That was a PSA. They had to tell everybody,
Nope.
we don't have one.
It
And that's a
is.
shame, man.
I've been saying
That
that
is
since I was a
sad.
kid, that, you know, there's not one single PSA out there with, you know, like Morgan Freeman and a group of, you know, good-looking black kids, you know, all, you know, plethora of rainbow colors and everything, you know, saying, you know, for $1 a day, you can help save a child like little Carlton here. You know,
You
I
know
don't
what?
see a single,
Dorian,
nothing
no.
like that.
Today, I make a pact with you and Kier Jr. Spates. Before these eyes close, we gonna have a PSA.
Amen.
We gonna have a PSA. That when you think about that doesn't even make any sense.
That's just
that doesn't make any sense.
the impact that would have. Yes, the impact that would have, man. You know, Dorian, man, we just proud of the work you doing, man. You know, I just really do appreciate all the stuff you're doing for sickle cell, man. So how do we participate in some of the wonderful diverse initiatives that Cayenne Wellness is doing to bring sickle cell to the forefront in the center, man? What can we do as a public?
Right now, it's funny that you mentioned that. Cayenne is actually gearing up for a huge grassroots program called March on Hospital, where they will be targeting specific hospitals that have been labeled or deemed, you know, unsickle cell friendly. And
oh man,
we are going to be challenging these hospitals to essentially meet with us, agree to our care plan, our treatment plan for how sickle cell patients are to be received in ERs, how you know, they should be viewed and listened to. Just looking at the chart for one, a lot of times it will do a doctor a lot of service, and you'll understand why a patient may be asking for a specific drug or saying this specific amount or milligrams, or be knowledgeable in that regard. But more times than not, when that happens, the patient is viewed as a red flag, and then it's like, you know, drug addiction protocols are then put in place. But even still, we aren't even treated with the same level of care and respect that drug addicts are treated with when they come into the hospital, actual drug addicts. So it's night and day in terms of the care that we should be receiving. So challenging these hospitals to change their care and their culture is going to be, I think, make a
actual
impact that will expand across not just California, but I think the nation. So when these hospitals don't agree to that, that's when, or if they don't agree to that, that's when actual protest will take place in front of these hospitals with news media, radio, and every camera that we can get to put a lens on us to do that. And that is going to take money, and that is going to take people. That was one of the two things that I brought up, the two things I brought up before, that it takes money and people. So in terms of getting bodies on the ground to actually protest hospitals, we'll need volunteers. And in terms of giving, if anybody wants to give or donate, they can go to CayenneWellness.org, and there's a donate button right there. We're also going to be partnering with other organizations across Southern California to also do that. So organizations like Access Advocacy also have their, you know, donate buttons on their website as well. And pouring into organizations like those that are doing the grassroots work is, you know, like I said, how we can start getting the ball rolling.
Hey, man, that is awesome, man. Thank you so much, Dorian, for all that you're doing, man. Listen, Dorian, I know that, like me, many people will want to partner with all that you're doing, these organizations, to affect change for patients that's living with sickle cell, man. And, man, we need strong advocates like yourself, man, to be trailblazers for all the sickle cell warriors, man. So thank you so much for stopping by to Living Your Life and educating us on how we can get involved and stay involved with the worthy cause, man. Thank you much for being a forefront and for change, Dorian, man. Thank you, brother. You is absolutely
Thank you, Dorian.
something that I tell you what, man, the fact that you even talking about changing the laws, which has greater effect than what we're doing in these hospitals. I
Yeah,
really
it's gonna have a
appreciate that,
trickle-down
man.
effect.
You strong brother, man. You know, I like you, Dorian. That's just Dr. Abel, like, because you're a Kappa.
Hey
That ain't
man,
got nothing to do with
look,
me.
look, I'm an
I'm
alpha wearing a
just
purple and gold tie, so I don't know what I don't know what I'm
okay.
doing.
I don't know. I don't know how y'all
I'm
work
all over
y'all
the
thing
place.
out, but I think this Kappa brother is doing way more
Hey,
than the alphas.
See,
speak,
Oh,
speak,
recognize
speaking of
that?
oh,
which,
wait a
we
minute.
got a
Oh,
national
wait a
campaign
minute.
running with the Red Cross.
Oh,
So
oh,
we
oh,
Get it?
man.
Red
You said I'm
Cross,
talking.
really?
hey,
Red Cross.
we
Ah,
Come on.
come on,
blood,
man.
sickle cell patients, we need the
I
blood.
don't
So,
know.
that crimson and cream is already right there at the forefront.
I see the connection.
I'm
It just,
neutral. I'm just
it
working for
just
sickle
seems
cell.
natural
I'm
for
just getting
us
whoever
as
gonna get in here.
newbs to be at,
Yeah,
It does. And I
yeah,
will give you all the kudos in the world, my brother, because you're doing it. You are doing it.
Yep. And getting black
yeah,
men
man. You are Dorian,
to
man. Thank
donate
you so
blood,
much, brother.
man, that is a challenge in and of itself, as I'm sure y'all know.
Yeah,
You got the biggest guys with
yeah,
tattoo
man.
sleeves all down their arm, scared of a little needle
Yeah.
prick to just donate blood. So I'm
Oh,
happy to
man.
see that
We got
the
everything.
brothers were able to step up and donate blood and continue to step up and donate blood with every blood drive that we organize. So
Absolutely.
yes, sir.
Hey, man, thank you so much, Dorian, man. Ladies and gentlemen, get your hands together for Dorian Archie for coming on Living Your Life, brother.
No, you
keep
guys
up the great work, man.
I mean, again, I applaud you guys for the work that you're doing and the voice that you're bringing to this, and even doing it in a way that brings some levity, I think, to an illness that it really has no levity to it. But so thank you guys for talking with me this morning and having me on, and just thank you again for the work you're doing.
That's our episode for Living Your Life. Please follow us and tell a friend to follow us on social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and most importantly, spread the word about Living Your Life podcast. Hey, man, thank you, Dr. Hebert, for always being here with me, man. Hey, go subscribe to this podcast so you will never miss an episode of Living Your Life, where we explore the inspiring stories of people who have pursued their passions and people who have successful careers while dealing with a life-threatening sickle cell disease. See you next time on Living Your Life. We out!